Welcome to the line. Today we're going to hear from Duke, and we're going to talk about rocks, atheists, and whether rocks are atheists. I don't fucking know why we're having this conversation. It doesn't seem to make sense, but here we are. So if y'all want to fuck around and find out why rocks are not atheists, then please stay tuned. So the next caller has my wife's favorite topic in mind. Hi there, Duke. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. Thanks for taking my call. Okay,
Yeah.
So here's my situation. Let me first define the terms that I use them.
Okay.
Atheism is the lack of belief in a God. An atheist is a person who does not believe in a God. So those are the usages that I prefer. Okay. And it seems to be, I'm glad you brought up your wife because I actually had a few words with her and I had a disagreement. So I'm glad you brought her up. I didn't want to blow up her spot, because I'm not trying to be antagonistic. But the situation is with Aron Ra is that at some point, I guess he called rocks atheists and everyone jumped on him. Now, I don't prefer to call them that because I define atheist as a person. But I think I'm honest enough to know that what he's trying to communicate is that a rock is incapable of believing in a God, not that a rock disbelieves in a God. So when all those fine people on Twitter like to dogpile on him and everybody else about it, what I like to do is propose a question. And my question goes as follows. A rock does not believe in a God. Is that statement true or false?
It's on.
First, I have to ask a question. I have to ask a question. Does a rock have a mind? Does a rock have a mind?
No.
Then
no.
Belief. Oh, then how do you believe something without a mind?
I am not trying to say that a rock can believe anything.
But you just said, I believe you. What did you say about a rock believing in God?
Can I say it again? I'll say it again.
Yeah.
I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So this is the question. The question starts with a statement. This is the statement. A rock does not believe in a God. Is that statement true or false?
That's it. No.
And
So first of all, that statement is nonsensical. It is completely 100% nonsensical.
Okay.
This is
where I disagree.
Hold on, Duke, hold on. The question that you're asking only makes sense of things that can potentially process the whole idea of whether or not a God exists. So asking sure. Look, okay, listen. So sure, you can ask that about a rock, but I mean, you might as well be screaming at a wall or whatever. It makes just as much sense to have a conversation with a wall as it does to ask whether or not a rock believes in God.
Right.
Okay.
See, if you don't have a mind, to believe, it makes no question to ask. It makes no sense to ask a question about what something that has no mind believes in, since belief requires a mind. It's nonsensical.
Okay, so if I was to tell someone that the statement is false, does that mean I'm wrong?
It's nonsensical. I mean, it makes no sense to even claim truth or false or anything else. It's kind of like asking the question, what's the truth value of an unknown proposition, right?
No, okay, so I disagree with you guys. I mean, the statement makes perfect sense, and the simple fact that rock does not have a mind is the reason why it does not believe.
No.
Okay, so there's a concept.
If you don't mind,
hold on. I want to introduce you to a concept. Have you ever heard of the phrase "not even wrong"?
I have heard of that phrase.
Okay, that directly applies to the question that you're asking, because the question can neither be affirmed nor denied. So, I mean, it's like we've been saying, it's nonsensical. It's not even wrong.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And how are you using the word
belief?
Mind,
if I can ask a question, to hold something to be true. A rock.
And what do you need to hold something to be true?
In order to hold something to be true, you need a mind, but you do not need a mind to not hold something to be true.
No. No, you still need a mind. You still need a mind.
Can I ask one question?
So it doesn't make sense to me. Hold on. Duke. it doesn't make sense to me to ask the question of something that cannot possibly fulfill whatever you're trying to do. Like, it doesn't make any kind of sense to me to ask that of any kind of inanimate object that has no ability to hold a belief.
Right.
Okay, so if I can frame it in two ways. One way, let's say a small child says, hey, Dad, does that thing believe in a God? If I was to say no, because it doesn't have a mind, am I wrong?
The only part of that statement is correct. Is it doesn't have a mind to have a belief.
Right.
Because here's right out of Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy definition of belief. Contemporary Anglophone philosophers of mind generally use the term belief to return to the attitude we have, roughly, whenever we take something to be the case or regard it as true. To believe something in this sense needn't involve actively reflecting on it, or the vast number of things ordinary adults believe. There's nothing about the definition of belief on this page that does not require an active mind, and that includes to believe or not believe. Because remember, that while any proposition has two positions, a true position and a false position, there are actually four positions you can hold, right? So what are the four positions you can hold on a proposition? Yes, if you were saying that rocks are atheists, that is a proposition that has a true false.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I do not define atheist as anything that doesn't believe in a God. I am not here trying to prove to you that a rock is an atheist, and that's the biggest misconception. All that I'm trying to do is say that I hold it in my mind that a rock does not believe in a God.
Well, yes, I understand.
I don't understand.
We understand what you're trying to do here, but like boiling it down to a dichotomous decision is a bit, I guess, wrong-headed, because this particular question can't be asked of a rock, because a rock doesn't have a mind, which I think is like the third or fourth time we've said this already.
I know, and I agree with you.
Do you know what nonsensical means, Duke? Do you know what nonsensical means?
No, it's nonsensical. I'm answering your question. I think it's nonsensical to believe that a rock can believe in a God, but it's not nonsensical for it to not believe in a God. You need a mind to believe something. You do not need a mind to not believe something.
No, that is not true. Because the statement is.
Say one thing.
The statement is a rock can believe. The false part of that, the false version of the statement is rock cannot believe. Either way, you're still talking about the state of a mind of a rock, which makes no sense.
Okay, so I believe that to believe and to not believe is a true dichotomy, meaning it is impossible for anything in our known universe to neither fit in either set of believing or not believing in a thing.
As long as it has the ability to make that decision. As long as whatever you're talking about has a mind, has the ability to make that decision, it is a dichotomy. But this question only applies to a specific set of things. And you're taking it out of that set of things, and you're trying to apply it to different sets of things.
So is it possible that it could be the case that when I say not believe, I'm being interpreted as disbelieving or rejecting a proposition? Like, in order to, you have to hear the proposition and then reject it? Because I find that to be a subset of all non-belief. You understand what I mean? Like, I am not trying to say a rock disbelieves in a God.
No, because ultimately when we're talking about belief, we're also talking about epistemology. Ultimately, we're talking about belief, and whether we believe in something or not is epistemology. Epistemology still requires a brain. You can't get around that fact that it requires a brain, which is why we say it's nonsensical to ask the question to begin with.
I don't see a big difference in asking the question, does a rock believe in God, a God, and does a rock disbelieve in a God? Like, those two things don't make sense. Like, if you were to ask, you probably ask the question,
I would say no to
can a rock believe in God?
I would say no.
And that answer would be no, because a rock doesn't have a mind.
Implicit in your no.
And if someone asks me, does a rock disbelieve?
But there's something implicit in your no. and that is that a rock has a mind. That is implicit in the question.
That is not.
Yes, because that's what we're talking about when we talk about belief. We talk about epistemology. We talk about something a mind does. Belief and disbelief are actions of a mind. If you don't have a mind, it makes no sense to ask the question.
So the statement, a rock does not believe in a God, is not a true-false statement because there are other possibilities.
Because it doesn't.
When I say it's false, that means I'm wrong.
It's not even wrong.
You're not even wrong. You can't possibly be right or wrong with that. Either way you go, because the false thing in this is that there's a mind. You can't get around this fact. You can't get around that epistemology is about a mind.
So you need a mind to not believe something.
Yes.
Do I need feet to not walk?
Again, that's completely nonsensical. Walking is not thinking. Walking is not belief. Again, nonsensical.
Also, there's plenty of paraplegics out there that don't walk, and they may or may not have feet. I don't know.
There are people with feet who don't walk. There are people without feet that don't walk. It is not a requirement to have feet to not walk.
So what? I don't care. Walking and thinking are two completely different things.
Yep.
Because you don't even need a mind technically to walk. Epistemology and belief require a mind. Belief and epistemology require a mind. Disbelief, because it's the antithesis of belief, it's the other side of that coin, also requires a mind. It makes no sense to talk about the belief of or lack of belief of anything that does not have a mind.
Right. I think the confusion is that I am not equating not believing with disbelief.
But see, here's the thing.
Are literally semantically the same. Semantically, those two things are exactly the same. I don't understand how you.
Okay, so my question now is: a newborn baby, a human being with a mind, does not believe in a God. Is that true? That a newborn baby does not believe in a God?
That is more than likely true, but I have no way to prove it.
Well, right. So me personally, hold on, Duke. I'm trying to answer your question. I'm trying to answer your question. As far as applying the label of atheist to like a human like baby, I think that you have to have the ability to consider the question of God first, and I don't think like a newborn baby exactly has that capability to really contemplate complex like ideas, like complex beliefs, and I would definitely consider God to be a complex belief. Typically, I generally like to label babies as being secular rather than atheist, because secular just means it has nothing to do with religion, and I don't think newborn babies have anything to do with religion, or at least they shouldn't, in my opinion. So I think that the atheist label, for me, can really only be applied to, one, humans, and two, humans that have considered the position of whether or not they believe in God.
Right. Because babies have problems with object permanence, right? Right. But see, the other problem you have is that babies, up until a certain age, have a problem with object permanence. So when I say, I think that's probably the case, but I have no way to prove it, that's just my intuition, that's the most honest answer I can give you. I don't know. I don't know of any way to actually prove that. So again, you're back to, is that as nonsensical as a rock? No. We at least could do some sort of things to prove it if we get better at scanning minds and stuff like that. But then you'd have to show that at what point does a baby become, or a human child become capable of actually forming the types of thoughts needed to answer the question. And it will be at that point that you can answer the question.
Okay. So is it fair to say, if we can conclude this, that I define an atheist as a person who does not believe in a God, but it may be fair to say that you two define atheist as a person who disbelieves in a God. I am making a distinction between the two.
I don't know. So I don't know what the difference between disbelief and non-belief and not believing is. They're the exact same semantic word.
Rejection. So if I was just to be fair, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clear. If non-belief is the superset, then disbelief is anyone who is aware of the proposition and then dismisses it. They
I make no distinction between non-belief and disbelief. Those two things are semantically the same. They're two different ways to say the exact same concept.
So that means it's actually possible to neither believe nor not believe something.
Yes, the I don't know position is the most rational position there is. The I don't know position is the most rational position for things that you do not have evidence to support.
So you do,
and I'm fairly certain that there's plenty of questions that you haven't considered.
I'm sorry, John. What'd you say?
Oh,
John,
well,
you and Duke were talking over each other. Go ahead.
Yeah. Crap. I forgot what I was. What I had said. Okay. It's not that important.
So there are people who are neither theists nor atheists.
Yes, those would be agnostics.
Oh, okay.
If you want to get really pedantic, if you want to get really pedantic about definitions,
I'm not trying to be pedantic.
Right.
I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just, this is the okay. So
I never consider being pedantic insulting.
That there are people who, okay, all right. So there are people who hold that there are people who are atheists, theists, and agnostics, and there are people who do not consider that there is a third position. That there are people who, consider that
there are four positions.
Be a theist or an atheist.
No, there are four positions you can have on any proposition. So the four are: you can accept the proposition as true, you can reject it as false, or you can say that it's false, or accept that it's false. Excuse me. You can say that I don't know, and you can also say it's not knowable. Those are the four positions that you can have. Now, I think there's a fifth one called I don't care, but philosophers only recognize the first four. The other one is just meism. But those are the four positions you can have on any proposition.
Right. So to put this in the context of like the atheist-theist discussion, I actively reject the God of the Bible. Like I know he's not real, but I actively disbelieve in that one. I don't know if a God exists or not because I don't know everything in the universe. So I'm what you would consider an agnostic on that point. And I'm sure that there's plenty of other things that I just simply haven't been confronted with to not even have a position on. As I'm sure that you have, I'm pretty sure there's an infinite number of questions that you simply don't have a position on because you haven't been confronted with the question yet to be able to consider it. So.
Right, yeah. I consider myself someone who doesn't believe in that proposition.
That would be the I don't know position.
Right, I don't know, therefore I don't believe it.
Right, which is also the agnostic position. Yes.
Which still requires a mind, by the way.
Yeah, it still requires a mind.
I'm sorry, you both were talking?
It still requires a mind.
I'm sorry, you're both talking? Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
it
guys.
still requires a mind.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
No, appreciate your call there, Duke. Hope you call in again.
All right. Thank you. All right,
bye-bye. Yeah, my wife, Casey, she loves having that particular conversation on Twitter.
I stayed out of that because, one, Aron, I love the guy. I've drunk beers with the guy. He's awesome. But there are two topics that he's very weak on, and one of those is philosophy, and the other one is biblical knowledge. He's a great guy, and his science is normally dead on for everything I've heard him speak on in terms of science and genetics and that stuff. But yeah, his philosophy and his knowledge of the Bible is his weak points. So
yeah, I definitely disagree with him on the whole rocks being an atheist thing, but I've met him too. Taking a picture with him and everything. I don't think I've drank with him yet, but I have hung out with him, so he's pretty cool dude.
Be very careful when you're drinking with him, because he will drink you under the table if you're not careful. He's a great guy. I love him to death. He's awesome.